I think you're up.
Yeah, same.
Okay, all right. All right, let's stand. We'll call the meeting. to order.
United States flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Texas flag.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Let us pray. Lord, guide us with your strength and wisdom to do the best job for our citizens. Please help us protect our first responders, military, and our employees, our country and its leaders. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Okay, did y'all have a chance to look over the bills?
Yes.
Any questions, comments, motions?
I'll make a motion to accept the bills as read.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second to approve the bills. Any further discussion? All in favor? Item 4 is to consider and or approve payroll. Kathy, do you have anything?
I have a comp time report I need to give you all.
Okay,
And then, well, a lot of payroll. Yeah, want to make sure that's the right one. I don't think you can. Would you pass? Well, let me see. She's coming up, so I'm gonna hand it to her. Thank you.
thank you much.
Jan. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll do the comp time report first. And then payroll changes. Okay, so this is the comp time report for the end of June, June 30th. Our ending balance on our grand total of hours was 2,137.71. And then our dollar amount is 56,197. So it's up approximately $5,000 from the end of March. Have any
You said
questions?
5,000 more.
Uh-huh. Yes. Have any questions on that?
I don't know.
Right now.
Okay. Okay, so then this is the payroll changes for this time. Okay. So the new employee in the juvenile department, Shasta Hughes, she started on July the 1st. She is the receptionist in there. Then our separations this time, of course, we have Shasta Hughes. She was in the tax office and she went to the juvenile. So she ended in the tax office June 30th. Of course, Derek Williamson, our ag agent, his last day was 7/5. And then of course, Yadi Rodriguez, our JP is 7/31, Terry Webster, 7/31. And then in the jail, we have Casey Young. He was a jailer and his last day is 7/13. And then Tanner Edwards is field deputy. His last day is 7/31. Kenneth Flaherty, the field deputy, his last day is 7/18. And then today, David Williamson in the sheriff's department, his last day is 7/31. I don't think I have David on.
Okay.
That's new. So those are the changes.
Okay, thanks, Kathy.
Do we have that, do we have that $4,000 in there to pay that comp time for those two?
I don't have that exact.
Okay. one way to take care of
So unless you want to approve of the comp time report,
Considered part of payroll.
could be.
That's usually where I give it at.
Okay.
I'll approve it at.
All right. Do I have a motion then to accept the comp time report?
I think Marcel was gonna say something.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just, I spoke to Temple Spalding for a second. So we are going to leave a vacancy for a little period of time to cover the amount that's going out on our end.
I didn't mean to put you on the spot like that.
No, I'm glad you asked though. I mean, you know, maybe it's planned, so.
I think the one, Edwards, he didn't work much in July, so he's not really, he used
One
his.
day.
Yeah, he-
One day.
Yeah, he's down. He's
Yeah.
down quite a bit from what he
Edwards
was.
used his, this comp report goes through, for the sheriff's department, July 10th. But I don't think Edwards has been there because he called this morning and, he's used most of his comp.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I don't know the
Okay.
exact numbers on it, but he's literally worked one day for this actual pay period.
Okay, that's good.
Okay.
Yeah, he's down quite a bit from what he was on the,
And they haven't hired to replace any of these yet. And probably won't for a little while until they get applications.
Yes, ma'am.
So do I have a motion then to accept that?
make a motion, we accept the comp. report.
I'll second it.
A motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, item 5, any additions or corrections to our previous Commissioners Court meeting?
No corrections for the July 11th meeting and the special meeting July the 18th.
Thank you. Item 6, any public comments? No. Item 7, consider, discuss, approve any and all items necessary or pertaining to the county jail. We have
I don't have
anything?
anything on the jail.
Are we still trying this?
We come to the podium. Although I don't think we need to scoot the podium over because I don't think we can get you in the camera, can we?
Still don't see.
Oh,
there we go. We've got 50 inmates today over here, 44 males and 6 females, and then we have an additional 8 females over in Carson County.
Thank you.
Okay.
Everything else okay at the jail?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Let's see. That's all right.
All right, item 8, consider, discuss, approve any and all items necessary or pertaining to the county courthouse.
The only thing I got on the courthouse is we got more air conditioning units. It's messed up. And get a mechanic out to work on those. I think 3 of them right now.
Okay.
Other than that, that's about it.
Item 9, consider and or approve the reappointment of Janice Robinson to the Texas Panhandle Center Board of Trustees. So I received a letter from TPC and they have Miss Janice Robinson of Hereford, currently represents the western region of the Panhandle, which would be Dallam, Sherman, Hartley, Moore, Hutchinson, Carson, Oldham, and Deaf Smith, and she was appointed for a 2-year term, which expires August the 31st, and she is seeking reappointment. She has agreed to that, and they're just asking that we reappoint her or approve that reappointment.
I'll make a motion, we reappoint Janice Robinson to the Texas Panhandle Center
Okay,
Board of Trustees.
all right.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, great. Thank you. All All right, item 10, consider and or approve contract with Vista for management and preservation of election records.
So this is something new that we've looked at, and with our ballot by mail increasing and more steps on the ballot by mail. Every time a ballot by mail comes in, it is processed in multiple sections as it's received, as it's voted, as it's rejected. And so it's anytime trying to balance it is on a long spreadsheet is difficult. So there's a new management for this. And we've looked at it. Some other companies, other counties have used it or are pleased with it. So we would, I think, be advantageous for us to do this to help with us. And also it does the preservation of our election records. So we can keep it on there. And I think which would be good. So in 23, there's going to be a new audit by the Secretary of State. And there's going to be like 100 documents and you have 11 days to get it together. This has it where you can feed it into each slot that it's going to, and it preserves it for the amount that a time you want it. So I think it would be good. I think it would help our office a lot. And I talked with Leisha, our auditor, and we can pay it out of Fund 44, which is preservation, since it does help with that, or that is part of the plan. And we do have money in there for that. Craig has looked at it, and I sent a thing where he said he approved it, and I think it
Yes,
sent
I
that to all of
received
you. That he reviewed and had no issues. There was a thing that he wanted us to make sure if we wanted to cancel 60 days before, and I did discuss with Kelly and Jamie and Angela, so that they're aware that if they need to cancel, that they can, but they need to do it on a timely manner. Okay, so.
Was there something on there too about rate changes, letting you know ahead of time?
Right, yes. And so, and that's what Craig wants them to check
Oh, okay.
next year. Are there any rate changes?
Yeah.
So, but I won't be here.
So it's a yearly.
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Vista for management and preservation of election records.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Okay,
Thank you much.
thanks, Jan. Item 11 is to consider and or approve the purchase of an office chair for the incoming treasurer, Amy Beck. Kathy located a chair for $429 from Gerald's, correct?
Yes.
And so this does, she just brought this to the court for approval because of our lame duck rule.
So your chair is worn out.
My chair is worn out, yes. I've been there too long. That's why.
We're not gonna comment on that.
I sat there too long.
We'll see if we can't give you that chair for a retirement gift.
I'm not touching this one.
I'm not gonna be sitting.
There you go.
Make a motion to approve the purchase of the chair for the treasurer's office.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, item 12 is to consider and or approve the bond for Roman Alejandro. This is his constable bond that he's required to have,
I'll make a motion. We approve.
elected official.
Yeah, it's gotta have it.
And we had a second? Second? Okay, all right, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, and then item 13 is to consider and or approve the bond for Amanda Weissong.
Make a motion, we approve the bond for Amanda Weissong.
No, second it.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? All right, item 15, or 14, I'm sorry, is to consider and or approve appointed council fee schedule. So get to that. The fee schedule for appointed council has not changed since 2015. And so the district judges are in the process of updating our indigent defense information on that website and just made their recommendation that we change the fee schedule. The hourly schedule is going from 170 to 190. And in our court, the county court, we're going to go from $300 to $350 for contested plea or an uncontested plea, I'm sorry.
That's pretty much in line with counties our size.
Yes, it is. I've made some inquiries and we're actually a little lower than some of the others. So it's probably time that we bump those up a little. Any questions?
Make a motion, we approve the council fee schedule. Appointed council.
We have a motion and second to approve the appointed council fee schedule. Any further discussion? All in favor? Item 15 is to consider and or approve the interlocal agreement with the city of Border for seal coating.
This is an annual seal coating project that we do with the city of Bourne. Last year, y'all signed an umbrella agreement to do this, but this is job specific. So I wanted to get one done that was more job specific. Projects they're wanting to do this year.
Is this one gonna take?
Looks like 3 miles or probably 3, maybe 2 days, 2.5.
I'm okay with that. Rate schedule that you're charging, has it been updated because fuel prices?
And no, it hasn't been updated. Dale was the last one to update it the year he passed away. So
It's the same rate schedule we used last year.
it's the same one we've used, yeah. And when he updated it, hadn't been updated in about 15 years. But yeah, I mean, whenever we update that, that's something that we can get updated.
We need to, fuel's double just as last year.
For sure.
I have no problem with doing this one, and we need to update it before we do any more though.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the interlocal agreement between City of Border and Hudson County for the named streets on here on this contract.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the seal coating? Not really. I think I'll vote again. No, I know it needs to be done, but I'm thinking there goes my windshield.
Yeah, nobody likes this.
Don't go down.
And I have no way out. That's
We don't-
my problem. I have no way out. I'm gonna have to drive one of those roads.
You're gonna be locked in.
Yeah, so, okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you, Dwayne. All right, item 16 is to consider and or approve the engagement letter with Dozier, Pickens and Francis LLC to perform the annual financial audit for fiscal year 2022. This is our outside auditors. Alicia, did that change significantly?
It did go up just a bit.
Right,
It was about $26,100, and I believe this past year it was 24,000.
that went up from the previous year because it was 22. Thinking. But they do a great job. So y'all have a
And
chance.
I don't know that they would have to do a single audit. They did not include that in their fee. The latest ruling is the only reason you need a single audit is due to ARPA funds, then you don't have to have one.
Right.
But that could change at any time. So
I think
it
last
was
year,
24.2 for this past year.
Last year, we put that extra $6,000,
There was three.
3,000
Uh-huh.
in the line item,
Probably 3 to 5 would probably cover.
just in
any line
case.
That we might consider
Right.
when it comes to the budget.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Hold on just a second. I got a question real quick.
Uh-huh.
I know I've seen them they do the work, well, they did the work for Border last year. They're changing, but then they do the work for Fridge. But how many groups do this? Do we go out and get
You mean like bids?
checks and estimates just to make sure we're doing?
They haven't gone out for a proposal in several years.
Yeah, we haven't went out since we changed to them. We did use Brown and Graham.
But they were significantly more
Yeah, they were
expensive.
60,000
Yeah.
a year. And so that was, so it's probably, I don't remember how long we've used John and them.
Right.
5, 6.
Since I've been up here, we've been using
Do we
them.
need to
Mhm.
check?
We
Just
can go
to
out
double
for
check, see what it
proposal.
is.
And-
I mean, they do a great job. I just always want to make sure we're
Right.
doing, if it's going to be around 60, obviously it's a no brainer with
Right.
these guys.
Sounds like we're getting a good deal.
Sounds like it.
They do probably the majority of the counties around here. Every now and then you'll have maybe somebody in the county that's an auditor that will do it. I don't know that we have very many in our county. You know, I don't think when we bid that out that last time, I don't know that we got any bids besides them.
Right.
Them and Brown and Graham. But Brown was still 60 something.
Yeah, if they're up there, I doubt they're going to drop it.
When
that
does this
much.
need to be approved?
Not for a while. I mean, we've got time. If we want to go out for proposal, I'll be happy to get that together. Just to make sure that
We could do
we're
our
still.
We could check. Yeah.
If you don't mind, sorry. I know you're not busy right now
Not at all.
with budget stuff.
So do I have a motion to just table that?
I'll make a motion.
Sorry, Alicia, that was Ben's idea.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to table that item. Discussion. All in favor? Okay. All right. Item 17 was to consider and or approve the purchase of a new copier for the sheriff's office. Laura did call me this morning and ask that that item be removed from the agenda. So they had the representative from Benchmark come out and take a look at that copier. And after she ran the serial number, she realized that the information she was giving her was incorrect and that copier was still under contract. So they've called a repairman because it's still under contract and hoping that they can get that repaired as part of our service contract. So if not, then we may need to put that back on the agenda. So we probably need to just table it.
Make a motion to table the copier for the sheriff's department.
Second it.
Okay, motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. All right, item 18 is to consider and or approve action of nuisance abatement for the property of 9710 North Griffin Lane in Sanford Estates. I think Jerry has a
So this is a
production
property
for
that,
us.
we've been working with for a while. The plan actually came in back when Dale was here. So myself and Dwight have been working on the property. This is the one that the commissioners court had approved some ARP funds to contract or clean up on the property. So normally the road and bridge crews will go out and take care of cleanup, but this one would be a full demolition of a structure. So the approval of the funds through ARP, y'all have already done that. This is the legal process we have to go through for the posting of the property. We have to do that in the newspaper. We posted that twice as per the state law to do that. In the Fridge newspaper, and then it has to go to commissioner's court. The property, the current owner of the property has passed away. That's why we had the property when we were discussing it with him. He already said that he didn't have the means to clean up the property. Now, since he has passed away, it's still on our nuisance, I guess, role that we're taking care of as far as the complaint. So that's why it'll go to commissioner's court and I'll make the decision if we're gonna go ahead and make take the next step to go ahead and get property cleaned up. What happens if that's approved today is the judge, we've already filled out a seizure warrant. What happens is the judge will sign the seizure warrant. The county physically takes control of the property for the point in time that it would take to clean it up, and then we return the property back to the estate, which the lien on the property will be placed at the clerk's office.
For what it costs.
For what
to clean it up.
Normally, it's for what it's up to y'all what y'all decide the lien needs to be, but the cost of the property cleanup and what we approved for the contractor was 17,000 something. So the one of the problems with that is normally the fact that's 0.8 acres, $17,000 is a lot of money for a tract that's buried on it. So it would come down to y'all to depend on how much the lien you would want to place on the property to eventually release that lien, or somebody would be interested in buying it from the estate or however that's going to. It would be up to y'all to decide how much that would be. As far as the property itself, I think go out and get some video of the property.
Do we have anything on the appraisal value of just the land?
That was.
Motion set.
That's a lot.
Looking for a boat.
Huh?
Looking for a boat.
There you go. So if we move forward with this, do we know what that's going to cost us?
The contracted amount that we had approved for ARP was the 17,000.
Okay.
Actual quote.
I remember there was several bids on that one.
Yeah, we did receive several bids, and that 17,000 was the lowest bid that we had. It was from a private contractor from for charity.
Okay.
We assumed that.
Sad part is there's a lot of properties like that in the county.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot.
Oh, yeah. But this could be
Yeah, I
a
don't,
daily thing. If it was.
this needs done for sure, but there's tons
Yeah.
of them.
This is not the only one.
No,
And we can't afford to clean up
there's
them
no way you
all.
could pay for all of them.
17,544.
17,540.
Okay, so what Jerry's needing today is just our approval to move forward with the seizure warrant.
The only issue with this is that it does set a precedent that all the other properties also need to go down the same road as this, but we just know way we can do that.
Right.
But it definitely needs done.
At least we got the ARP money to pay for this one.
So is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the affidavit for the demolition seizure warrant.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Thanks, Jerry. That's a lot of work to get to that point. So appreciate that. All right, item 19 is to consider and or approve any ARP grant projects. So the only thing that I have is just this tabled item that we had last time in regards to opportunities. They've got some bids for their work that they need done on their pavement from 3 different companies. And I believe I sent you that information. Mr. Maxwell, did you have anything further that you wanted to add?
I just wanted to be here in case you guys had any questions or anything like that.
Okay. You see the bid from the A&M Construction, which was the original company that the opportunities had visited with to do the work. And they submitted a bid that was a little less than their original proposal. And then there's also a bid from Rice and one from Serco.
A lot of difference in those bids. but-
Yes, there is.
Yeah, so they're talking about paving the whole thing.
The difference that I saw, another board member accumulated these bids, okay? But the difference that I saw, I talked to him about is A&M is doing seal coating, am I supposed to be doing? And the other 2 bid for asphalt on the parking areas, okay? That's a substantial difference. But we were also considering the budget on everything on this too. And as the primary project is, we're trying to seal the potholes, seal the cracks, make everything a better safe environment for people coming into our building.
Seal coat would do the trick.
Yes, sir. We feel like it will. Honestly, what we've been doing lately is putting dirt in these potholes. And so, you know, I wished it would rain. But that's about,
Right.
that's the reason why it's been holding its own lately. That's the primary difference in these bids.
So did the others mention that they didn't want to seal coat it, or they just weren't told
The
kind of the gist of the
other 2
project?
bids, what they were talking about, one of them in particular was just, he said he felt more comfortable. And we all know that asphalt will last longer than seal coating. I think he did talk with them, but he stuck with his bid of putting asphalt down.
Any other questions? Anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go with the seal coating bid.
From A&M Construction?
Right.
Okay, for the opportunities. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? And that's the only project that I had on the agenda. Jerry, you didn't have any others, did you? Okay, great. All right, item 20 is to consider and or approve the burn ban or rescind the burn ban.
So currently our drought index is 620, so we're elevated and still climbing every day. So hopefully we have some precipitation chances at the end of the week. So pray for that. I would ask for no action at this time.
Okay. Item 21 is to consider and or approve disposal of obsolete office equipment. I did not receive any. 22, accept certificates of completion from elected or appointed officials.
I have two. Judge Irwin submitted her transcript for her judicial education record for the fiscal year. And then I submitted certificate for a level 2 security awareness from CGIS. And those are the only two I have.
Item 23 is to consider and or approve request for the use of club rooms at the Border Library or Fritch.
Say, I was looking at the date that no, I don't have any new ones. I couldn't remember when the last one was. I reported that last minute.
Why, are you on here? Oh, he's connecting.
There you go.
Hey, Dwight, can you hear us? Can you unmute?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, yes. Hey, do you have anything on the Fritch Club Room?
No, I don't.
Okay, all right, great, thanks. Hope you're feeling better.
Thanks.
All right, item 24 is to consider and or approve line item changes, transfers and or budget amendments.
I had a few. One was to amend the budget for a rebate check that was received for the Joe groceries that have been purchased from Dining Alliance. And that was for $98.63. Another was to amend the budget for the donation received for the ESU trailer for $8,500. Another is to amend the airport revenue budget. We had only budgeted, I think, 450,000 and then collected well above that. And so they are running out of money to buy fuel for resale, and we're gonna have to start turning customers away. So by increasing that revenue budget, we are able to increase their fuel for resale budget so that they can purchase more for the customers.
Okay.
And then we had 4 different line item transfers. One was from the drug court, just moving money from one line item to another. One from the sheriff, one from road and bridge, and one from the jail. Just kind of moving their money from one place to another.
Dennis was having to turn people down, but he saved fuel for his regular customers like pipeliners that fly the pipelines.
Well, I don't think he's had to turn anyone down yet, but I mean, it was getting to the point where he may.
But this will
Tell him
help with that.
This allows him to purchase enough fuel for the rest of the year.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get that money back.
Yes, definitely. And so that, he was like $150,000 under budget on his revenue.
Okay.
So we were able to increase that revenue budget and in turn increase that expenditure budget.
Okay, good. Hey, do I hear a motion to accept those changes?
I'll make a motion to accept the changes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Item 25 is to consider and or approve advertising, opening, accepting, or awarding bids.
And I don't have any.
Item 26, consider and or approve donations to Hutchinson County. Anybody? I ask every time. 27, accept reports from elected or appointed officials.
I don't have any.
Okay. 28, discussion of county judges and commissioners precinct daily operations.
The airport's not quite finished on the last runway. They've had some delays. It should be through the end of this week.
What caused that? Do we know? Material?
I think the heat,
Oh,
was part of it.
okay.
And then they had a holiday in between.
Oh, yeah.
Off, so different things like that.
Okay. Anything else?
The library is completely done. The LED project, we got the paint done last week, so we'll finish up that contract, the reports and all that stuff. The finance and the project itself is done. It looks good. It looks really good.
Good.
And also they wanted me to mention On this Wednesday at 10, they're doing a books, badges and boots things where the border PD and the fire department will be there at 10 in the morning and they're gonna do some water balloons and things like that. They just wanted me to pass along.
Yeah, I think I saw that on Facebook. They were,
And then they're gonna do a watermelon feed later on that I'll tell you all about, but they wanted to pass the invite to, if you wanted to throw water balloons at kids, you can go show up and have some fun.
interesting. Yeah, okay.
Or cops. Whatever, where you want,
Or other commissioners.
or each other,
Are
yeah.
you?
Be a bonding experience.
The only thing I have, of course, we took part in the ribbon cutting at the Dome this weekend. So that was a pretty awesome event and the city's done a great job with that. Good venue. And then also, just wanted to say a congratulations to Josh Smith in our IT department. He has been asked to serve on the CIRA Advisory Committee, which is the County Information Resources Agency. So I think he said they'll meet maybe quarterly. I can't remember what he said, but anyway, just to work on some security things and just, it's a part of TAC. So it's kind of an honor for him and for us to represent Hutchinson County. And also want to say congratulations to Judge Ford because she's been asked to serve on the JPCA Education Committee, which is Justice of the Peace and Constable Association. So the Education Committee, if I'm correct, are the committee that plans all of the education for the coming year. So what do we need to have our constables working on and our JPs working on as far as education requirements? So proud of you. Good job.
Congratulations.
Great way to represent Hutchinson County.
Sounds like work to me.
But fun work. Yeah, it's good to be part of that decision-making process. Anything else on that? Okay. Item 29 is to consider and or approve the sale of struck off tax property. So we have 3 properties, and these are all in Dwight's precinct, and they are all counter offers. These were properties located on 0 Snow Drive, 0 Walton Street, 0 Golden Drive. I think they're adjacent properties out in Lake Meredith Harbor. This is like I said, a counter offer, and the counter was what the county requested originally when we submitted the counter offer amount of $150 per lot. They were all made by Christina Ruth Bond. So I think, Dwight, if you're okay with that and you want to make a motion. Or we can do it.
It's coughed twice.
Yeah. But they
Sorry,
are,
I thought I hit mute. I thought I hit unmute. Sorry.
no, that's fine.
So for once, I did a very good motion and everybody missed it.
Oh, way to go,
I know.
Dwight.
So let me try it again. Here we go.
Already messed it up.
Sorry. I hereby move. You guys, I hereby move to accept the counter offers as presented to these struck off properties.
Okay, all 3 of them.
Can I get an amen?
I give it a 7.
Chris gave you a second.
Okay, that'll work.
All right, thanks, Dwight. Any further discussion on these? All in favor? Okay. And that's all we had for the struck off properties. So the next item on the agenda is the budget work session. You all want a break before we start that? Or shall we just keep rolling?
Give us 5 minutes.
5-minute break, okay. Short break, then we'll dive in. Right, tired now. Thank you for coming.
Hey, is it okay? Could y'all Zoom a private meeting for the workshop, or is it just something I'll miss out on?
Not me.
Oh.
Oh,
It's gonna be, go ahead.
it's public.
I
Oh,
would say
okay.
after they make, we need a copy of the.
So you'll be there. Throw in a lozenge and join us in 5.
Probably a copy.
Just taking a
Okay, thank you.
Copy of the
Okay.
check that they.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you.
All right. Thank you. Okay, y'all ready to get started? We have had sent out a letter to all of the departments after Lisa and I went through the budget request and kind of did a recommended budget, then sent it out to the departments with a schedule. And this, I think y'all got that, so you can see who's on the schedule for today: county attorney, district attorney, county judge, JP 1 and 2, constable 1 and 2, 84th and 316th, emergency management, fire, road and bridge, and the jail and sheriff. The sheriff's
He's at the sheriff's conference.
yes, sheriff's conference this week. So they've requested to August 1st, which is fine. So as far as our departments, if we go down the line, I did receive a note from Craig, and he had planned to be here, but had a funeral come up that he needed to be at this morning, so was unable to attend. But he did send me a note that he has reviewed the recommended budget and is in agreement with everything. He was a little worried about his computer support, but I think Leisha's we're trying to get that.
Yes,
A
we're
little-
changing the way that the honesty software is allocated to each department. I think it was just kind of divided equally amongst some departments.
Yeah, it was a little random.
Yeah, it was a little- so we're doing it by the number and type of users that each department has. So the department with more users gets more of the bill, versus the ones who just have a view only. We were able to get last year they were able to get some numbers from Tyler showing the annual cost for each department. So that's what we did this year.
Yep, and that's going to be way better. All right. Haven't got anything from Mark, so I'm assuming that if I haven't heard from them, they are happy with the recommended budget. We didn't make many changes, just a couple of things on my budget. Upped our office supplies, but that's down 500, so no real changes on my budget. Mark,
Yes, ma'am.
you got anything on your budget?
No, ma'am.
You're good with it all?
Yes.
Okay. So JP,
Can we go back to your budget?
yes, absolutely.
So since we are raising the rates for court-appointed attorneys.
Right, yeah, you're
I
right.
think that we have already have two departments this year who are getting close to their budget or have exceeded their court-appointed attorney budget. So we're having to move money around to cover that.
Right,
We did include a little bit of extra for this upcoming year, but since the rates are increasing, do we need to increase that a little more?
I would say yes.
Because as of 7/18 for your court-appointed attorneys, you were at 26,600. And we just raised it up to 30,000 for this next year.
Right. 35. A lot for us, but
It's something that could, and this is also one of the line items in the budget policy that people cannot move money from. So, if they need.
right,
office-
if we don't spend it, we
Yeah,
can't spend it somewhere
It
else.
goes back
Yes.
into fund balance and it
Yes.
can't be spent somewhere else. Yeah.
Okay, so my request then on that would probably be to up that to 35. You guys okay with that? We try really hard to keep that under control, but
So it can be moved out, but things can be moved into it, right?
Right.
yeah, because we're basically required by law to provide that if they qualify. And we try hard to make sure that they do.
So from 30 to 35,000.
Yeah, we upped it to 30, but I think I'll request that we up it to 35.
Roll it. Okay.
Okay. Okay, JP's, Leslie, do y'all have anything? Do you know? Okay, your budget as we sent you recommended is good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and then my constables aren't here.
Since Constable 1 is kind of in a different, kind of in a limbo in a way, and it directly affects my office. I have a question.
Okay.
about, The,
Mhm.
so I went back and was looking at my evictions, and the reason I asked this question is because it directly affects my office and the way my office runs as far as my judgments and the writs that come into my office. I had 50 evictions, and we had no more than 20 writ of possessions. And I'm talking about evictions because this is the thing that has trended very high lately. In 20, that was COVID, we still had 45 evictions, and we had no more than a handful of writ of possessions. 21, we skyrocketed up to 72 evictions with approximately 63 writ of possessions. This year, we're already sitting at 54. We still have till January to go for our year, with just about 5 months to go. And we have about 88 to 90% writ that goes along with those evictions. That's the trend that has been coming on these evictions. By law, they have to do at least 3 service attempts for the citation. With the writ of possession, they have to go back to that house and put a final 24-hour notice. And then the next day, they have to go back over for the writ of possession itself. So you're looking at 5 trips to a house possibly, and it's been that way. With the fuel budget at $2,500 for the year, my question is, if that runs out, what then? Is it gonna come out of the constable's pocket, out of their wage, or what then? Because the $4,500 came out of their salary, but now they're left with $2,500 fuel budget. I'm just curious because it directly affects my office, because if they don't have the fuel to deliver these citations, do the writ of possessions, we're getting writs of sequestration, we're getting all sorts of things, turnovers, we're getting other things other than that in my office. My question is, if they run out of that, what then?
So, Alicia, let's kind of go over the calculation.
So how we came up with the 2,500 was, the judge reached out to Terry and he said that,
Well, and Scott, but I didn't ever hear from
well,
him.
I got the email from Terry, saying that he was averaging about 700 miles a month. So I, annualized that to 8,400 miles per year. Their new cars are averaging 20 miles per gallon. It has an 18.5 gallon tank. So I came up with 370 miles per tank. So that came out to roughly 23 tanks per year, times the number of gallons that it holds, times the $4.50, and it came out to $18.89 for 700 miles per month.
Okay.
I think
Well,
that's.
I know I drive here every week, and I have to fill my tank up every week. So that's 52 tanks a year. And I just drive here and back, and I do drive other places too when I get called out. But I think my question is, if it runs out, what then? How's that gonna affect my court? I mean, it's gonna, what happens then? Are they done? Can they amend it? What can happen?
Well,
Because if they can't serve my papers and they can't serve my writs.
it's their job to maintain their budget.
But
I
listen,
know, but it's their job
Yeah.
to maintain their budget. So if they feel like they're using their car too much and they're not gonna have enough money to do their job, then maybe they leave their cars parked and I don't know, I don't know what all they do.
Lisa, come on now,
I
really.
don't know what,
You don't know,
I-
I mean, you
I
don't
don't
know
know
what
what
the
the
year's
first,
gonna
so
hold.
their vehicle allowance was $4,500. And so one of them wanted to put $1,000 of that into maintenance.
Well,
One of
I
them wanted to put
understand that.
$1,500 into maintenance. And so, I mean, the calculations came out based on what he said he drove. That's what it came out to. Plus we upped it from 1,800 to
I understand
2,500.
that. My question is, what happens if that 20?
They'll have to find somewhere else in their budget to pay for their fuel.
But
I think there's got to be a cushion there.
my question is, if there's not, what happens after that? Do I need, like, if someone comes in to file an eviction and a writ, do they need to come up here and talk to y'all about it? I mean, what goes from there?
Once the
Because we
budget's
can't predict how
adopted,
many.
that's the law. So I don't know what the answer is because all we can do is adopt the budget and he has to operate within the budget.
Okay, but again,
And
that's predictable,
this is merely a recommendation.
right, but my question
It's still
is,
fluid. We're still working on
I
it.
think this is a conversation to have with Roman, like he needs to come in and have this conversation. Because there's a lot of questions that with him being, during his interview, he also mentioned that Fritch was going to be his priority. So if he starts driving this car over to
well, he's
Fritch,
not going to.
well, this is
he's going to
I
come.
understand that. With all due respect, this is a conversation that Roman probably needs to come in and have, because he has the idea of what he's going to do with his car. And I think that's going to save a lot of time, just him coming in and just, we have that conversation.
But
no disrespect to you, but
my
that's his
question hasn't
budget.
been answered.
Alicia, let me-
That's my
I'm
answer.
not worried
That's,
about wherever they drive it.
I get it, but with respect to you, this is his budget. So that's what I'm saying.
But it
Best-
actually affects my.
It does, but it's not your budget.
Scott does way less.
So with all due respect, I think best would be for him to come in, so we have that kind of brainstorming thing to where he kind of says what he wants to do.
Some or constable.
My writs and my
Yeah, they think
citation,
that's
which
Yeah.
operates my court.
I get it. I heard what you said.
Right.
But once again, this isn't in your budget though. So if we brainstorm and he has a different idea, then we wasted our time talking about it right now. So I think
All right,
if he's
that was my
here-
question, but we'll see what the future holds. That was my question.
Okay.
Still no answer, but thank you.
you're welcome.
There is always the possibility, because we do this with court-appointed attorneys a lot, to move from one constable to the other. So we do that with our courts a lot when one has not used quite as much. So there's always that possibility if he were to run low and the other one didn't.
I know regarding fuel, it's already, you averaged it at $4.50 a gallon. Due to what we're hearing in the trend is it's going to be about $3.50 probably next year, maybe even lower. I know that's speculation, but those will be things that we can address, and agree with what Chris said is I think that's something that we can talk, have Roman kind of crunch those numbers and look at it, and he can present to us next week, or next time we meet. But I appreciate you taking care of looking at the big picture.
Thanks, Dwight. So anyone have a thought on that, y'all?
I think when the constables come in, we'll discuss their budgets, but as far as fuel goes, that's one of the biggest problems we got this year.
Right.
And it's pretty much double what it was, we was talking about this last year. So it's
And
pretty easy.
that's why I have, all of my
Calculations.
calculations have used 450, which it's not 450 any longer. It's starting to come down, but I still left it at 450 just to account for that.
Give us a little
And
cushion.
with diesel, I did $5, I believe. For diesel.
I figured a little different than that, but it's, we can talk about the constable's budget when they get.
It's hard to say what the price is.
Yeah, you don't see it, there's only a number.
Predict all day, but it never
turns out to do that.
And another, which in the non-departmental, my suggestion would be to have some sort of contingency line item. Because legally, we cannot amend the budget unless you order an emergency. We can move.
And there's only certain things that can be considered, you know, an
So
emergency.
can we have a line item for additional fuel if,
Well, I would just have a contingency line item that you just, I mean, once we figure out revenue, we figure out how much of a cushion for the entire budget we need. And then if court-appointed attorneys goes way over, or autopsies go way over, or fuel prices skyrocket to $7 a gallon, or, you know, different things, or heaven forbid, you know, we have a water damage that insurance doesn't cover, whatever the case may be, we've got a contingency line item that we can move money if need to. I don't want that to be, oh, well, I'm just gonna go drive my car to South Fork or wherever, you know, just everywhere, here and there and here and there, and not pay attention to our fuel budget because I know that there's a contingency line item, or go and go buy all kinds of office equipment because that's what I like, you know. We still need to manage the budget well, but we do have some sort of cushion in there. If something out of the ordinary were to happen, then we could do a budget amendment without having to order an emergency.
And I think if we had something like that, we'd have that discussion with that department to know exactly why.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Lisa and I have kind of
And it would have
thought
to be something that they
that-
provided documentation
yes,
as to why.
contingency line item kind of helps us keep from maybe every individual department padding their budget because of what if, you know? So we just have a contingency line item where we can use that if for those what if situations.
I think it's a big mistake to assume any kind of fuel's going down. If it does, that's great, but just to think, well, we think it's gonna be lower this year, we don't know that.
Right. But that's why Lisa,
This year.
that's why she
Yeah.
calculated at
Yeah.
450.
I didn't look out the
Yeah,
window and
but-
say, oh, well, it's down to 402 or whatever it is. I don't know what it is.
We can figure out
And
the
90
mileage
is
and
what-
gallons and everything else, but tanks of gas, everybody fills up different, you can't figure a tank of gas. But, yeah,
I mean, that's going to be probably one of the hardest things to,
I mean, you gotta have some
And
type of
across the
formula.
board,
Yeah.
that's what I did with
Well, you burn miles
everyone's
per
fuel
gallon.
budget is. I
how many
did a-
gallons you burn, how much per gallon,
That's what she did.
and not tanks of gas.
Well, she
Well, I
did
did.
miles
I
per
mean,
gallon and then.
I
still
averaged, you got an 18.5 gallon
Did more
tank and
than
you're
that.
averaging 20 miles per gallon, then you can average 370 miles a tank. Average. I can't say specifically, this is what you're gonna
Right.
do, but that's the average.
that's just an average.
You have to have some
Yes.
type of formula to get
Yes.
to where you think it's gonna be.
Do figure miles per gallon.
Huh?
Never.
I'll holler at the constables and make sure they're here next on the 1st. So if they want to talk to us about this, they can. Which I think we're going to swear them in on August 1st anyway. So Roman should be here. We're going to plan to do that first. Okay. Anything else on those? We're at, I haven't heard from the judges. I'm assuming they're
And it's the same with them on my
right.
questions, their court appointed attorneys, they both increased their line items a little bit. I don't know if they were taking into account.
Well, Judge Brancho put a note here that he added 10% to his 2021 total as they, anticipated raising that, which we haven't done for 13 years.
So I guess he's already accounted for the increase. Compensation.
Right. How much did Mosley go up? 25,000. And he is always over Because we usually take from
from him.
84th Isn't it-
They usually take from 316
to
4.
84th.
Because he's, as of the 18th, he had 186,000 out of his 250 budget.
Okay, right.
And I think Judge Brancho is knocking right on his budget.
So are we good for those?
Judge, if I might add, just for an explanation,
Mhm.
Judge Brancho is considered the administrative judge. So he's more like, he does more appointments than Judge Coates.
Right.
So that's probably why his budgets, why his expenditures are higher.
I mean, is there anything else on either of those?
I mean, but I did adjust their computers for the new Odyssey calculations.
Good. Okay. Emergency management. Jerry? Did y'all get the information I sent y'all for the budget for Jerry? Yeah. Did you guys? I emailed it to you.
Okay. I think I put everything in there, so if y'all have any questions for me, that gets me questions. Need to forward everybody to that.
The only question I had, did we ever figure out about the Spillman? Well, that's the sheriff's budget, but
Yeah, so I did send an email and
was it 7?
it's gonna be close to the 7,000 mark, because the first one was like 4,400.
Right.
We added a couple of modules to that afterwards. So it's like 44 plus like 2 something on top of that, but he's gonna send me the official number. But he's on vacation. this week,
Okay.
so.
All right.
So as he
We're still
comes back
working
from
on it.
Vacation, he'll send me that official number. But it should be around that 7,000. So reduce that Odyssey amount from 40 something thousand to just filming, which is about 7.
So the only thing on the emergency management, after I had done the fuel analysis, based on the fuel card, I did a big spreadsheet on what the usage was, what the cost of it was, kind of the average price per gallon, all of that. If you look at his usage for the current year, he's averaging about 59 gallons per month, based on what he's purchasing. And if you take that times 450 for the whole year, it's coming up to 3186, and the 4-year average for him is about 4968, 4,968. What you want to give him is a little bit, that's completely up to you. I just want to make sure that y'all have the information that you need to make the decisions.
I really just fire season. And what's going on with that.
How many miles per year do you drive? That's all I need to know.
Yeah, it really, like I said, I'm not sure as far as being able to give you that right now. It really depends on what we're doing as far as
Average.
the big ones is probably the fire season stuff. And we're having a lot of fires, and the response to that is either elevated or not, so.
He's averaging buying 59 gallons per month.
Are you looking at 3,300? So,
I actually went in between and did 4,000.
no, the 406, 3,300,
Oh,
the
yes,
fuel and
Yes,
emergency.
ma'am.
Okay.
It was just a suggestion. I believe I sent all y'all the spreadsheets that I did on all of the fuel analysis.
Depending on what side with the other deal, that might come down quite a bit.
Good. 4,000 review.
Yes.
This one, I must be looking at the wrong one. This one says 5,000.
Right. That was done whenever the judge and I talked, and then afterwards, I did my fuel analysis, and that's just the number that I came up with afterwards.
So you lowered that to 4?
I can't lower it.
Okay. Well, I mean,
That was a
I
recommendation.
recommended it for.
okay, you recommend 4 though?
Yes.
Okay.
I also recommend 4 if y'all care. My picture looks better than I do right now.
Currently, he's sitting at 1,722, so he's well below his
Yeah.
budget.
Okay, so did y'all have a chance to read Jerry's proposal for the fire marshal?
I didn't see that.
I'm sorry. I thought I included you on that email.
I don't have it for the minutes either.
Okay, sorry. Oh, I can give you mine if you want to look at it. Sorry, I should have made more copies of that. Y'all have comments, thoughts? It was a single email that I sent y'all because it was just one, the only budget, reporting budget stuff I received. That's crazy.
Is this in regards to his salary request?
Yes, yes,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
yes.
Yes, I looked it over and I appreciate the time and effort and work in that. And I understand some of the reasoning behind it. Because Jerry and I, excuse me, Jerry and I have talked about this and the reasoning behind this. He stated in his proposal. However, I would like to say openly is that I would, in my opinion, just Dwight's opinion, as opposed to just increasing to justify, I say we break down what the salary is currently with an addition. My brain, as I looked at some of those numbers, was EOM or his emergency management salary could be a base rate at 45, and then add that nuisance and fire marshal in, if that's something we looked at doing, to make that maybe a encompassing into a $20,000 position, because that would be more part-time aspect than a full-time aspect. And if by chance the judge later on, if Jerry got a promotion or went somewhere else and she hired someone to be the emergency management manager, she could bring that person in at 45, and then we as a court would have to look for a nuisance fire marshal additionally. And I can't really justify that would be a full-time gig if we had to get someone separate from the EOM. So I was thinking maybe just setting a base rate for fire marshal and nuisance management position per se at 20,000, and then the EOM at a base rate of 45 or 48, somewhere around there. And not in looking at Jerry's current salary and kind of balancing that out. Whereas, I don't know, I mean, it's one of those weird predicaments that he really right now, his current status is that he gets paid a salary, but that salary is strictly the emergency management office position, and the fire marshal and nuisance office is more on a volunteer basis, the way it's set up currently. And that's something we as a court can kind of kick around. But as far as just, no offense, Jerry, but as opposed to just adding money to make that better, it just doesn't feel right, in my opinion, for me to just say, we'll take it up, add that 20,000 to the fire marshal and nuisance property as well, or nuisance maintenance, management. So I was thinking this may be something we need to break out his current salary in. How much is he getting paid to do EOM, and how much is he getting paid to be fire marshal and nuisance officer at current salary? And then what do we want to do going forward to kind of separate those two aspects of the role that he's currently in? So my brain said 45, 48 for EOM, and then 20,000 for fire marshal and nuisance. Just my opinion, doesn't mean it's right. My wife would confer that my opinion's not always right.
I mean, I think you do need that separation just because they're different titles. So, I mean, if Jerry, or just for Jerry's responsibility, I understand it too. And if Jerry goes somewhere else, when we find somebody else, we need to be able to break that down financially and duty related. Because that's how we got in this mess now, is there are no strict separations of what is expected or what.
I agree, they should be separated. But the current salary right now is 62,110, so.
For the emergency management position.
Yeah. But that includes all three positions.
No, it's just.
But you only get.
That's just emergency management. The other stuff got thrown on
It
him.
includes it now.
Like all of us get stuff thrown on us, all of us.
Well, it's official job description, the fire marshal's position. So that's an additional job description for the county. So it's in there right now, and like I was told, it is volunteer basis right now. So I do that as a volunteer for the county, using my certifications, which I gotta keep up to date. So. it's
Like we
volunteer.
have to keep our certifications up,
Yeah,
Jerry.
but I don't have to. That's the problem.
Well, then let's get somebody else to do it then.
Kathy,
That was part of the option that I gave.
let's keep it kind of internal, like here between us. Because I mean, on the flip side, I mean, there are a lot of people who do things that are asked of them, but I mean, Dwayne's never came to me and asked me to seal coat a road and not get paid for it. So I mean, we have to have those strict separations of duties and understanding. And like Ben said, I mean, the salary is for this title, so we need to decide.
You're only getting
keep
paid.
him
He's doing all three jobs, but you're only technically getting paid for one, but.
Right.
The salary is paid to 62,110. So if you add another 12,000 on that, you would be up to 74 something. And you're getting up to the salary of elected officials pretty close, not far off. You have a problem with that.
I did add in there a couple of appointed positions on the scale as well. IT and brokerage. Not.
I'll see those. You see that on Jerry's?
I think we need to be just broken out and start there. Then if you want to get pay increases, then they go up that.
So him drop the responsibilities that he's doing voluntarily?
No, you get, if you do like the 45 for EOC, you do the 20 for the other two, whatever it comes out off of his current salary, break them out to where they should be. And then if you want to get a raise, then you raise.
Well, that,
But we don't know what
Well,
we're
I
giving
think we
raise
need to
to.
know what each position will bring
Yeah, I agree. And
and how many hours you spend on each one.
you need to break the
If it's
62,
part-time or-
110 out. From whatever you're paying each position and separate it.
so the issue is though, the 62-110 is one position.
Yeah, he was hired at
Breaking
that
it, yeah.
position.
Then
So he either stops the other two and makes 62-110, or we pay him 62-110 and then something else for the additional two. That's the issue. Because he was
I agree.
hired at the 62-110 or 111 as the fire marshal or as the
Emergency management coordinator.
I wasn't here whenever Jerry was hired. When he was hired, did he come into the position knowing it had these other requirements or
No,
oversight?
the fire marshal was appointed later, wasn't it? It was appointed later.
what would you hire as? EOC?
Emergency
My
management.
paid title with the county.
Yeah.
Right,
Nuisance came later.
right.
Fire marshal came later, because that's appointed by the commissioner's court.
The fire marshal was appointed by the commissioner's court. Originally, the appointment of the fire marshal position was when I worked at the sheriff's office. So I was appointed to the fire marshal position as to work in a time between when we had Danny Richards and he had left. And I had the certification, so they appointed me to the fire marshal position to take that spot in between. And then, like I said, I came in as the emergency management coordinator. My paid title with the county is emergency management coordinator. I said, and then the responsibilities of the fire marshal and nuisance abatement were just nuisance abatement was in Road and Bridge whenever I first got here. And then there's some law enforcement aspects of nuisance abatement that help that position as far as if you needed to do what we're doing here, doing seizure warrants, stuff like that. Law enforcement, it helps in that aspect. If you have to do citations, you don't have to go get the sheriff's office to do a citation or whatever the case may be, it helps. So that's why I took over the nuisance abatement position, fire marshal position to add on to that emergency management job.
I think one of the hard parts that is really tough for me to wrap my head around it, as well as maybe a couple others, is so maybe explain a little bit, and I know you alluded to it, but why all of a sudden is it now a problem? Like
one of the first, the issue that kind of brought this all up was the COVID. So I had COVID, I put in for the leave, and then Kathy actually found out that with my job description, I did not qualify as a law enforcement officer for the county. So I did not receive a benefit for the law enforcement officer of the county, even though the Hutchins County Fire Marshal's Office is a police department within the state of Texas. But because of my job description, I didn't qualify for a state benefit. There's other benefits with the state that because of my job description, I wouldn't qualify for those as well. That's one of them is in the line of duty death. It's if I had a circumstance like that, hopefully not, but my family would lose out on benefits. And that's where this all kind of came to that. And then so with the job description, I looked at what my job description was and my paid title, and this is what it was. And then adding those two positions onto it I said I broke down some compensations schedule and stuff like that on how other counties locally around us are paying those positions. So that's why I figured the best fair option was that, but I did provide two other options in there. Like I said, the fire marshal's position is appointed or is established by the commissioner's court. You don't even have to have a fire marshal's office in the county if you don't want it. So you can remove the office. You remove the benefits of that position to the community, but that's the choice of the commissioner.
And we didn't have it for how long? For you?
Danny Richards was the fire marshal for Hutchinson County for, I think he was listed on TPO for about 20 years or so, 15, 20 years.
But then they did away with that, right?
Well, when Danny left, it went into suspended status.
Yes.
And then, so whenever I came in, we got it back up to, because there was some issues and violations with the office. You got to do a lot of state reporting with TPOL. So we got that back up and going, and I do TPOL audits every year and all that. So, but it is an established police department with the state of Texas.
And so that's why the TPOL audits and all of those requirements to keep all that.
And I was going to say something else when we were talking about the salary for one position that, I mean, we're in a bind because in 2016, this could have been taken care of. And, you know, you are getting paid for one salary for one job description, but you also were appointed and accepted the appointment with no increase or specific separation. And so we're kind of in a mess now. You know, you're getting paid for one position, but it wasn't a problem adding the other things voluntarily with knowing the responsibilities going forward. So I was going to say that too. I mean, there is one paid title, but it was consensual, mutual agreements the whole time up until now.
Or you took the emergency management position?
When I worked for the sheriff's office, yes. And then I was not the fire marshal. Some issues came up with the jail and inspection on the jail, and I wouldn't do an inspection on our jail, so I dropped the position for a while.
So if let's say that the court just, I mean, 80,000 is tough for me. Honestly, it really is, for a position that's already there, already happening and already going. If we were as a court to decide, and this is totally hypothetical, if we were to decide that we don't want to go that route and just use you as an EOM and maintain things, and then we'll ask someone else to be fire marshal, or one of us in the court take the nuisance aspect of it. I know we wouldn't be able to do citations, but what do you feel, Jerry? It's such a large amount for me to wrap my brain around.
12,000 for the two positions. That's to add on to the additional. I felt that the 12,000 was looking at the surrounding counties was the number that I thought was fair to that position, or those two positions. Especially looking at, if you look at what I provided you when it comes to call outs. That's
what's tough is it's not adding more work. It's not adding more requirements, because you're already doing those. We just want to add more money to do what you're already doing. And again, I think you do a lot, and I appreciate what you do. I'm by no means degrading what you're doing. It's just a tough wrap around for my head to say, let's give more money for what we've already been doing. And not just a little bit of money, but quite a large extension, a large increase for something that you've already been doing for 6+ years. That's why I really think
for what I was doing for the last 6 years.
I think this needs to be looked at as one job that includes 3 different duties. And it's one job, negotiate the pay, whatever's decided by the court.
The difficult part with one job with the 3 duties is the certifications you have to have for all 3. So a law enforcement or peace officer, your fire investigation certification, which is a whole other side. So fire side, law enforcement side, and then emergency management side. So there's 3 different jobs with those criteria you're going to have it with that one person. Not looking at me currently because I have those certifications, but if I leave, looking at somebody else to come in, you're going to have, if you pull it all to one position, you're going to have that person with all those certifications. It's hard.
I don't think we'll find that person. That's just my opinion.
Well, I don't know, but
But I think it needs to be broken down into 3 different positions.
yes, the pay scale needs to be broken down into all 3. What does each one pay?
So is that something that you could address in the event that he does leave? But right now, he's here. And so if he were to leave, then you could say, well, it's 3 separate positions, or I'm just playing devil's
Yeah.
advocate.
Yes, I understand what you mean.
The Gray County salary. Oh, my screen just went blank. The grant, are there grants that, are we not eligible to get those types of grants, or how does that work for that?
So
Is that
as
from-
far as emergency management grant funding, they actually don't issue those grants anymore for emergency management grant funding.
Oh, that's right.
This was a program back in the Danny days where you could apply for those funds, but the state does not provide those emergency management grants anymore for the counties, because their TDM is expanding to do a regional liaison. So we have a TDM rep for the region. So that's why they took money from the counties to fund the state positions.
Okay.
Easy way to say that.
So is that affecting Moore County too?
Moore County.
Moore County and Gray County? Right. And are they gonna, well, Moore County is just emergency management. That's all he does, right?
Judge, if I was to ask you, and Lord forbid if that should happen, but if Jerry took another job or got promoted somewhere and he left and you had to hire an EOM on your own, because that person answers directly to you, you set their salary, what would your base pay be for someone who wasn't fire marshal or, and I know this is a cold question, you hadn't even had time to do research, but what would you hire an EOM for to do the emergency management only? What number pops in your head?
Wow. I'd have to think about that, but knowing what I know now and knowing what we've been through over the last 2 years and knowing that that's a reality that could happen at any time and how invaluable Jerry was to me through the whole COVID thing, and I couldn't put a price on that. But that, I don't have any expectation that if Jerry left, I would find someone that could replace him. That's just my opinion. So I don't know.
Well, Chris has been working on it and I've been working on some of the base pays for the county. Nothing ready to talk about at this time, but we have looked at some of those base pays for if we had to bring someone new into any department, what that would be. And I recall if it was just EOM, not fire marshal or nuisance, and it averaged at 45 to 48 based on their workload, just the EOM position for the county. Again, I don't have any of that reasoning available right now to just share, but and then my brain was thinking if Jerry said, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to do the fire marshal. I don't want to do the nuisance stuff. My brain thought, so what would we do if we needed someone? And again, just a part-time supplement pay, if you will. And I know you got to calculate retirement and all that other stuff. If they're part-time, we wouldn't have to go all into that. But I was thinking 45, 48. I know I sound like a broken record because I already said that. 45, 48,000 for EOM, and then a $20,000 for nuisance and fire. If we had to get extra, that's really where my brain was months ago, even before all of this got presented. And even as Jerry and I have talked about it a couple months ago, my brain was thinking as I was talking to Jerry when he first brought this to my attention that he doesn't qualify for that COVID relief stuff. I thought, well, we just divide your salary out and say this much goes to EOM and this much goes to fire marshal and nuisance, taking his current salary and just dividing those out. Never in my mind was I thinking about increasing quite a bit. And again, Jerry, you are not, I'm not putting you in that mindset of, well, this is what Jerry's worth. This is just what that position is worth. Just typically how we think when we think about positions. And so, again, I do appreciate you have helped me out tremendously since I've been there. And so this is not personal at all. I'm just trying to figure out what's a good steward for that position. If you were to say, well, the court isn't for it, I just want to do the EOM, which is totally your right to do so. You could say, I just want to work for Judge and just be her EOM person. Let the court find a fire marshal and nuisance officer. That would fall back on us. And I asked myself, what would we pay a part-time person to do some of our legwork for citations and inspections? And my brain keeps seeing 20,000 as a part-time gig for somebody, or 10,000 for one and 10,000 for another. I don't know. I even thought about roping Ben in and have him as our nuisance officer.
Thanks to that.
Hey, anytime. Gary could do fire marshal.
You gotta
Chris,
be law enforcement certified.
All right, Gary.
Fire marshal.
Gary, it's time to go back to class. It's time to put that fire hose on and let's get to work.
Yeah, I wish it was that simple. Well, my personal opinion is I want Jerry to keep his fire marshal. Consider, his base pay maybe for emergency management, and then consider what the fire marshal would be and see what we can come up with. As far as nuisance abatement, it's been road and bridge for how many years has it been road and bridge?
The nuisance abatement?
Yeah.
Just from the amount of time Danny left until.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think that needs to go back to road and bridge.
well,
I don't see that necessary, but.
We've already had one deal with nuisance abatement. We really don't have the money to do much. I mean,
Most of the nuisance abatement, I try to get voluntary compliance. That's the goal of nuisance abatement. Try not to use the county money to clean up people.
We don't have the money to clean it up. However, you can write letters and you can contact somebody, and a lot of it's voluntary. They will clean it up. It's just making them aware.
95% of it is going out to the property, making contact with property owners, trying to track them down. A lot of them don't even live here, so I'm sending notifications in the mail, and hey, your property is on nuisance abatement. If you don't get it cleaned up, we'll have to start doing something. Put liens on your property, trying to get them to do it.
And then that's.
And we've had some voluntary compliance,
It's very effective.
but it's just time consuming for Jerry to make those trips out there, track down those landowners or property owners. It's just super time consuming.
As far as money to actually do the cleanup, no, we really don't even have any money to even start on that, but.
I know y'all keep saying that, but what would it be if one of us on the court took nuisance off of the table there? Do you have to have certification, licensing, all of that to do oversight of nuisance for the entire county, not just precinct 2, since it's mainly precinct 2?
The only requirement is you have to be a full-time employee with the county. Outside of that, if you're going to do any citations or seizures, you would have to use like the sheriff's office or somebody like that to.
Or the constable, someone that can serve papers.
Somebody
Yeah.
certifies.
Law enforcement.
To serve those papers. But other than that requirement, through the county is a full-time employee.
The abatement thing is very time consuming. It's a lot of contact, a lot of tracking people down.
So could a commissioner take on nuisance and take that off the table?
You're not considered a full.
Are you volunteering for that, Dwight?
I would actually love that. Honestly, I would love
That's,
that.
I think it's very possible. Of course, the only thing you run into, then commissioners come and go, and you're gonna have to reposition that every time somebody leaves or that could become a problem, but. I mean, the
Thank-
next-
Different from
Ben,
anybody else.
Ben, thanks for your confidence in me. Golly.
You'll be around a while, Dwight.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I was just trying to help. If we took some of the workload off, wouldn't be such a burden on the finance aspect of that, maybe. I don't know.
Willing to give that up? 100%. Yeah.
Lot to do that job. I can tell you the time we did it.
It's very time
It
consuming.
never ends. It's just continuous every day. And that, we just did a few. He does a bunch of them.
Right.
That would be very time consuming. So,
Yeah, I'm not so sure that's a great idea to do that way. Somebody wants to take it.
I mean, we can certainly
Well, we can do that for now.
try that for now, see how that works. If Dwight's willing to take on that responsibility.
If nobody wants to do that later on, if somebody else is in our position, that's when you have to come up with something different.
I was just throwing that out. I mean, I'd be honored, but it was also just to maybe help with the deliberation regarding salary is why I was offering that as well. But since it sounds like it's a large portion of some of your duties, do you do more nuisance than you do fire marshal?
No, probably not. As far as sending the notifications, that's the big part of it is just making contact with property owners. The fire marshal side is where I get most of my late night call outs and that's where I said investigations on fire sites. Like that 3 or 2 fatality fires just this year. And 2 of those one of them was a double fatality. So those are very lengthy processes and they last forever. So time wise is probably more in the fire marshal side than the nuisance. Physical being on scene and on the investigation, it's more time consuming on that end. Physical.
And if we as a county, this is the way I understand this, do not have a fire marshal, then we rely on the state to come in and do those investigations, which they will, but it's on their timeline,
It can
so
also be contracted out.
it's not going to be like having Jerry there at 2:00 in the morning when that, things, it's just going to be waiting on the state to get there. And which would that involve our law enforcement continuing to keep this scene secure until the state,
Everything would fall to the
local law enforcement?
authority.
So the sheriff's office would have to
Can the
keep,
fire marshal be contracted out to another entity, someone in another entity to take care of that position, if it come down to that, which I hope it don't.
Like the city of Border.
Yeah, I'm just asking.
Pay them to do it.
You could contract it.
why would we not pay
So
Jerry to
that's
do
what I'm
it?
saying. That would be a last resort thing though, but
Well, I mean, I
It doesn't
guess
have
if
to go
you
to
had
state.
someone that wasn't qualified to do the job, like Jerry is, then yeah, I guess you probably
we're
could.
talking about a last resort issue. But I'm just
But it would be-
curious if you could do that.
It seems to kind of defeat the purpose that we would contract someone to do it when we've
May
got
cost you
someone.
more to do that than
Oh, I have no question about that. You're right, but still, what are the options here? I just assume we work on the payroll here and keep what we got.
My issue is, like I said, I mean, we do need to separate the 3. It was mutually agreed upon, unfortunately for you at this point now, for that salary to do those 3 items. And now we want to split it out. I just don't know how you go back and separate it out. So if Dwight spearheads the abatement stuff, and then you're still not willing, like for the current salary, you're not willing to do the 2 positions at the current salary
The fire marshal
and the EMC.
The way I see it is it's y'all's decision to make, and then I have to decide if I'm happy with that or not.
Because my problem is, I mean, it was mutually agreed upon that, like in 2016, I wish it would have said, hold on, this is going to be a lot more. So if I'm going to be appointed at this, I need this. But now, 5 years later, and you do a great job, like we've all said, but it was mutually agreed upon that these titles they were combined, like by agreement, basically, in essence. And so if you would have said, hey, I need 12,000 more to do the fire marshal in 2016, I think that would have solved a lot of the current muddiness, I think.
Would it be beneficial just to take your current salary and say of that salary, 10,000 is for fire marshal? It gives you that job description so that you.
So I don't know how that works with Kathy Meyer. So there's 2 job descriptions now with the county. There's a fire marshal job description, and then there's emergency management. So being that's the case, would you get paid for both job duties within the county as a full-time employee?
It seems almost logical to have one position that includes these duties. They pay X number of dollars. And you don't have 3 different positions. Then it just involves that job, just one job description will include all 3 positions.
Logically, it would.
I think you're narrowing your,
But
you're narrowing your replacement field down to nearly impossible.
yeah, it'd be nearly impossible to replace it. So every time that position is filled, it would probably have to be, that job description would have to be changed. And it would have to broken out to each individual what they're capable of. How you feel
like
that.
The EOM position is say $55,000, and then you get a $10,000 stipend for being the fire marshal.
But also there's also this, like emergency management answers directly to the judge. The other 2 positions answer to the court. So you can't have both of them on one job description.
Ben, I'm proud of you. That's awesome.
That makes sense to have a base pay for the emergency management with a stipend for certifications or other job duties like fire marshal.
If all 3 answer to the court, it'd be pretty simple, but we don't. So emergency management's got to be separate.
Just set an amount for the fire marshal's office and then an amount for emergency management. And then if one person fills both, then they just get both. That doesn't mess up any full-time, part-time.
I don't know, I have to look into that.
I mean, that makes sense to me because
I know that there is still like stipends, you said, because I know like said the bailiffs, they get a stipend for bailiff.
right, yeah.
They do. Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
So I guess it can't work. It's just.
It's just in the county judge's budget, the one, because she's.
Because you would be 2 different full-time employees. You're still just one full-time employee. You just have additional duties that you're getting compensated for.
And if I understand salaries, the stipend would not, your raise would not be based on stipend. If they went with a percentage raise or a dollar amount, your raise would be based on your base salary from the EOM. The stipend would typically stay the same unless the court decided to increase that as well.
Yes, that's the way I understand that too.
That's what I've always felt from the beginning.
The stipend for bailiff stays the same every year. unless we decide to raise that. But it's not affected by percentage raises or across the board raises. It's just,
Well, it's kind of like the sheriff's department gets certification pay, and that's, if we give a raise, they don't get a raise on that. Now Jerry does, because that certification was put in your salary. So Jerry makes more than a field deputy does, because he's been getting raises on that certification pay all this time. Court decided to do that.
when the court decided to hire Jerry on, we set his salary.
With what he was making, including certification.
Right. We took that into consideration and set his salary.
And that's what
At
he's
that.
been getting raises on.
Okay, why don't we
So I say, oh, sorry,
think
Judge.
about, I'm just going to say, why don't we think about this? Well,
Can I say one thing real quick?
yes, absolutely.
So, so just to kind of like feel like we've made some kind of headway,
Mhm.
I like where the discussion's been. So 52 for EOM and a 10,000 stipend for the budget.
The fire marshal.
Yeah, a fire marshal stipend. And then nuisance we can discuss later or roll it in. And that just helps with the figures for the budget right now. And it doesn't change his current salary right now. So y'all said 50, he made, what'd you say, Ben? He makes 62. What'd y'all say? I already forgot.
62.
62, 110, 68.
So 52, 10, 168 for salary, and then the $10,000 stipend fire marshal. If
I'd like to see all three stay together if possible, but.
And you
Works
can-
fine
you
if I
can-
don't mind.
yeah, you can throw nuisance in there for now.
I don't really want to see that change.
And whenever we wrote the job description on the fire marshal, we added nuisance abatement to the fire marshal job description. So it'll be a part of that position. So it's, you would have that, that stipend would be both the fire marshal and the nuisance abatement.
Or we can change the job description.
Or you could take it out.
And
Okay.
that's just for budget numbers for, that's since we're in a budget workshop.
Right.
That's my suggestion.
Okay, well, you guys roll that around in your heads. We've got another meeting on Monday. We'll continue our discussion.
Is anything made on regarding his fuel? Any decision made
Do what?
regarding his fuel from 5,000 or 4,000? Y'all like to keep it at 5 or put it at 4?
What'd you say the average was?
Based on his current year usage, if he bought 59 gallons every month, he would come out with 3,186. Based on his 4-year average, because they're like 2019, he was averaging 106 gallons a month. So that came up to 4,968. So I'm assuming it just depends on what's going on in the county.
Depends on what's.
So 49 was an average or?
49 was the 4-year average, 31 is the current year average. This year, he's sitting at 1,700 out of 5,000.
4,000 is sufficient.
Is that a consensus?
Yeah.
Leave it at 4? Okay, for now.
I like it.
Okay. Dwayne, do you have anything on yours?
Do we do the fire protection?
Look good.
We had that on. Yeah, no, I didn't.
We get amendments to those contracts?
Nope.
So
Do you-
talk to the city of Boulder. Work on, request or whatever it's actually says in the contract. I mean, the number that passed through. The city of Fridge. I guess is that where we're at right now?
Yes.
So all the fire departments that came to me, mostly due to fuel and maintenance and stuff, were talking about doing some sort of increase in the fire contract. Some of them were hitting me at the 10% mark. But we would eventually kind of all whittle it down to the departments in their total amount requesting a 5% increase for fuel and maintenance. Except for the city of Bridge, they still wanted to hit me 10. So that's why I put that in the bill and submitted it. Alicia was looking at the contract and we approved the city of Fridge or the city of Stinnett increase last year. And we don't have the last one we had in Janet sent me, it didn't reflect that increase on the contract amount. So I have to if I can. We have it in the minutes, it's just not on the contract, so we have to go back and look at that.
So the contract says that there needs to be a written amendment or a new contract altogether to change the contract amount. So I've requested that he get amendments to the contracts if they're requesting additional funds.
So we're working on that. If we can get that through to their process and get to y'all.
So last year, we raised Stinnett up $7,000.
From 33,000 to 41,000.
So they
8,000.
voted to bring that even. City of Fridge.
Right.
And Fridge last year, I believe, came to the court and asked for an increase last year. So I think because of the city of Fridge had received an increase sooner than Stinnett. Stinnett has been quite a while since they've received an increase. The Commissioners Court decided to give that increase to Stinnett because it's been so long. So, but the city of Fridge did come last year and asked for an increase as well.
Alicia, am I looking at I saw this last week when y'all sent it, and it says it's I guess I'm a little confused when I look at the report. It's a savings of 164,000.
No, because I don't have anything in the recommended budget.
Oh, okay.
Because according to the contract, we pay them 60,000, 10,000, 41,000, and 33,000. And until
there's numbers and plugged in, those are okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I was confused. Sorry.
That's all that we can approve because that's the contract we're in.
Correct. Thank you.
So I just left those blank pending the amendment. But it would be, if we gave what they're requesting, it's an increase of $11,000 for all 1, 2, 3, 4 of them.
Y'all thoughts on that?
Are they planning on coming talking to us at all?
I talked to city of Fridge or Fridge Fire Chief. He said he would come up here and talk after they get the contract put together. I talked to Garrett and said that he could come up here and work with the city. I'd like to speak with him.
maybe you can see if they want to come.
We said that last year, like anybody that's asking for free
Right.
money, we just like to see them here, even if it's for fuel and gas. I guess it's the same thing, fuel and other expenses.
So maybe,
That was, we can't, I mean, the contract states that we can't approve more unless they have a new contract or an amendment to the contract.
Right.
And it has to be approved by both the county commissioners, court, and their.
right, their city council.
But as far as a specific date, so they're gonna have to get their stuff done and then they'll present it to commissioners court. So I'm not sure exactly when their council meetings line up with commissioners court.
So I would say if they don't have them by the time we adopt the budget, then we can only adopt the contract amount.
Just let me know what they say. Okay. Okay, so Road and Bridge. And Dwayne emailed me and said, okay, as recommended.
One problem I see with that is your fuel. It's still,
Yeah, it's gonna be super close. I mean,
no, I don't. 150,000 does not even get you back to what you spent gallons wise.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's gonna be fuel this. I mean, I tried to work within my budget without raising anything. And the money I transferred over there is about what I've transferred this year so far. You know, if it stays at the price it is right now, there still could be an issue. Hopefully I can have a better transfer from somewhere, but
To get,
I didn't want to put it off the chart either, you know.
to
I have
get,
some figures worked up on that as well.
to get back to the gallons that you finished last year's budget with, you'd have to have 180,000 in your budget today. To get,
Well, I go into the year with $35,000 worth.
uh,
I go into the year with $35,000.
oh yeah, I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about like the end of the 21 budget, which is a little easier to figure because price was more consistent. To get the same gallons, you're going to have 180,000 in there.
I agree with Ben. According to the numbers that I worked up, your current usage for on-road, off-road, and your fuel card, it's up at $179,000.
Okay.
I figure I
Your
come up-
4-year average is $193,000.
I'd say in the 21 budget, you had $80,000 budget, but you actually used $90,000 worth of fuel. But to get back to the gallons, you'd have to have 180,000.
Yeah,
And without the gallons, you can't work.
that needs to be increased. I'm for doing it. I'm just trying to keep within the budget we had.
But like on new purchases, what do you plan on purchasing?
The only thing I planned on purchasing this year was 2 mowers, 2 pickups, and a belly dump trailer. More money out of there, transfer it over to the fuel and oil.
For 1 year, cut your purchases down, use it to fuel.
Cut down whatever we need to cut down there. It's just general trade-ins and maintenance. Pickups are, pretty poor, but the other stuff is just trying to keep them updated. Kind of all we've trained to do it fast. So if we need to take another, you're thinking, and what do you think, at least your 200,000 what I need in there?
If you move 180 to fuel and then, or make the fuel 180 and take the 30 out of new purchases for a year, it's not really hurt on purchases for a year.
150 is what I put in for. 1,000 out of the move to fuel and oil. Not a problem at all.
Move to a 180.
To fuel to 180, is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
And-
90, I think. That
Well,
would be-
Make it 190, you have a little cushion.
Yeah.
190 for fuel and
135 for equipment.
Fuel's gonna eat us up this year, but if we're gonna cushion this one more than what Leisha's formula is, we're gonna have to cushion all
Well,
of them.
that, my formula come, well, I mean, it is a little higher.
Once, I thought you said.
What-
179. 180.
think about sampling.
Well, I've
Pushing
been
this
kind of
one.
going in between the two.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was just throwing that out there, because when Roman comes, we're gonna have to talk to him about cushioning that. Because I mean, all the formulas, if we're cushioning this one, we're gonna have to cushion every formula.
The thing about fuel is if you drive anything, run equipment, drive a truck, anything, if you don't have fuel, you don't work.
Oh, that's true. I'm just saying,
So-
we've got to, I mean, that's what the budget.
But the same would be true for the constable.
Yeah,
He doesn't have fuel.
And then another
Across the
line
line.
item that I have put into the policies that you can't transfer money out of.
What?
You cannot transfer money out of fuel.
Right, for some other budget.
If we gave them $200,000 in fuel, they couldn't, be, I'm over budget
Well,
in
that's-
equipment and move it over here. So
That's good.
We can always add to
we
it.
can add to
Fuel, you
it,
can't
but we
take it
can't
out.
take out of it.
Well, then let's make sure we're covered. We'll make sure we're covered.
And so some of my other items are facing the same difficulties as fuel. Tires and tubes, anything made out of petroleum product, road and bridge material, they're all, that's why I posted all those up, because they're all, who knows where they're gonna be.
Yeah, and that's what you've got's really not even covered the price increases.
Yeah.
And so if this continues, this kind of inflation for another year, it's gonna have to be drastically changed. Budget's up.
That's even with the availability, there's so many things out there now that you can, if you had the money to buy, you can't get it.
So we do 100.
Okay, any other changes on road and bridge?
I made a couple of tweaks to the revenue accounts. I lowered his auto registration down to 315. I got with Carrie on what he normally gets for that.
Mhm,
Kind of put it more in line with what he gets.
right,
And then I got with Kathy on the interest, and with interest rates going up, we upped that interest income to 3,000. Auto registration was 315, and then interest was 3,000. And so that puts a transfer from a general fund in at 1.4 million.
and Alicia, did we want to talk about those two other revenue accounts? The drug court and the law library?
Since, the law library. And with Dwight, I don't think, you don't have this because I just handed out printouts this morning.
I don't have one either.
Here,
Yeah, you do. I gave you a printout.
yeah.
Oh, back there. Oh, there it is. Helps if you actually read it.
And so the only thing that really comes out of this is the LexisNexis subscription that they have. I think they use it for some additional books.
Actual
So
books.
this is fees that the county clerk, district clerk collects that goes towards paying the.
Just made a couple changes there.
It's January 1 of 2022, all the fee schedules changed. So I just adjusted for what the collections were based on this year.
Right. And then the drug court,
The drug court, I didn't get anything from Judge Mosley on this, so I just left it as
the same
the
budget.
same budget.
Mhm. Judge. You just adjusted those revenues a little,
Yes.
Yeah.
Because those are also fees that are
collected.
collected from the county and district clerks.
Okay.
And then this shows that the general fund will supplement it up to be $7,450.
Okay, anything else on the budget today?
We should get the values. at the end of
Yes.
July, right?
We should get them this week. Right, Karen? Fingers crossed. Yes. We hope to have them, or we should have them by the 28th, right, or 29th, right around there. Maybe August 1st. Yeah, for
I know-
sure. Because
I know
Go ahead.
I know it's already been said, but I just have to say you all have done a great job on the budget. It was super easy to read and look at. I just really, when I say you all, I mean Leisha and all those that are putting, it was easy to follow and make some adjustments and look at it. It was, it makes our job easy as commissioners to get to look at that. So good work on the budget.
I love these Excel spreadsheets.
Yeah, the spreadsheets and the
Yes.
presentation's good.
Yeah.
So,
So according to the calendar, we should have that certified values by, our calendar says the 28th, hopefully. I think the deadline is the 25th, but that's a weekend, or it's right for the calculation. So the 28th, hopefully we'll have all of that. And then we're going to meet again on Monday at 9:30 to go over more budgets. You all have a list of that, and let's look at then we have a meeting on the 8th. Again, hopefully we'll be ready to make some decisions. So,
Did you want to talk about mine at all?
yeah, absolutely. Did you have some,
Well, the one request, this will be a request for 361 for
yes,
increase on court appointed attorneys.
we did that. Um, Especially in light of the, us up in the court appointed
That was the question.
a little bit. Yeah.
Court appointed attorneys to be at least 15 years. Perhaps even
Yeah, I think it's 2013, is that 2015 is what I said?
increase since I've been on the bench.
Okay. Appointed attorneys, we've got you at 275. Right, and then Rancho. Did we agree to stay at 147? I didn't. That's what we,
We increased it,
32,000.
yeah, because it was 115 and he increased it up to 147.
So hopefully we'll be good. Good on that.
There was questions about other issues we're having. Talk about
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Judge.
Was drug court okay, leaving
Drug court's
all
fine.
your expenditures?
That should be, I just. You made those moves.
Okay, anything else? Alicia? Can think of it at this
Once I
moment?
get revenue numbers, then we'll have the rest of the pie.
Yeah, we can really get to work then.
We can really sort.
Yeah. Gary?
Then I will make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you, y'all.